the overtime, I guess because it had only happened once before. And so they weren't going to just go into I mean, they had a 3-hour pregame show. They could have mentioned the overtime rule somewhere in there instead of
maybe they did. I didn't.
Whether Bill Cowher had a tattoo on his forehead.
I'm proud to say that I did not watch the pregame show.
You didn't miss anything.
I just don't have a lot of interest in what these guys have to say. Very rarely do I. And so it was. Anyway, we are now live, Michael, and so good morning, everybody. It's the day after the Super Bowl.
It's a miraculous, morose, melodrous,
unless you're a Kansas City fan, then you're, or a Taylor Swift fan, or an Usher fan. If you're a Taylor Swift fan, if you're an Usher fan, if you are a Chiefs fan, or a fan of Christopher Walken, you got your money's worth yesterday.
It was
anything else?
There was a lot of pomp and circumstance around this game. It seems like more than any time in the future, in the past. By that I mean the commercial breaks were longer. The halftime show was longer. The game itself was, I thought, a good one, but the pump around it. It seems like the transitions that CBS made to their commercials and to special coverage were always weird. It's like they were on a 5-second delay and they were always getting there late.
Well, it was interesting, Michael, because I think what happened here is for the first time, not the first time, but probably to the highest degree, we saw the marriage of entertainment and football. This game was just as much about Taylor Swift as it. And they wanted to do that. They wanted to, because the NFL is intent on bringing more people under the tent and having more people watch the game, enjoy the game. Not even the game. They really don't care about the game. The game is clearly now 70% of the Super Bowl. The other 30 and moving up fast. Before it was like 80-20. Now it seems to me like it's 70-30 game entertainment. And that having Usher there, who I thought did a great job. I mean, I'm not a big Usher fan, but I thought he did an okay job.
He took off his shirt.
And they also, what they created too is this collision of entertainment and sports. And they also created a lot of buzz about the game because of Taylor Swift. There wouldn't have been half the buzz about this game had it not been for Taylor Swift. I don't.
Well, she had a flight from Tokyo to LAX to Kansas City to Las Vegas, and she performed in Japan before the game, so she had some miles to put on before she could see her boyfriend play and win.
And I guess now she's going to stay in Kansas City, I guess, for the parade, which will be on Wednesday, and then get back on a plane and go to Melbourne, Australia.
Like you do.
Like you do to catch up with her tour, for the next date on her tour. Now, I ask you, can you think of any other time in football history where either one of us could have sat down and told you where, not just Taylor Swift, but where a pop star came from on her tour or was going to on her tour and that it matters so much that we actually talked about it before we talked about what happened in the game? No.
And can you think of a time where LeBron James is like a fifth-ranked celebrity? Here's some actors, here's some people, here's Taylor Swift. Oh, yeah, and LeBron's here.
Yeah, because LeBron doesn't register with women as much as Taylor Swift does. I mean, Taylor Swift is I'm never going to say anybody's as big as the Beatles because you had to live through the Beatles to understand how
Well,
big
you
it
can't.
was, what a
Well,
phenomenon
you
it
can't.
was.
You can't be that big. As big as you can be that big. You can't be as big as the Beatles.
Yeah, I just don't think we'll ever see anything uh, like that again. But Taylor Swift definitely gets into the conversation.
Well, if you remember Brock Purdy, what in the pregame show that you did not watch, Brock Purdy's confessed that his mother is a Swiftie and loves Taylor Swift's music and is only giving it a break for Super Bowl week. She will return to being a fan when the game is over, as it is now.
Yeah, I think that you have so to your point, it made it more intense. It made it not just that the sports stations were talking about the Super Bowl. Usually a music station, an entertainment station, even a talk station will, do some cursory stuff up to the Super Bowl. Hey, this happened. This was wall to wall Taylor Swift.
I used to do a news service out of Long Beach for Los Angeles radio stations and Salem stations, which is a Christian-owned right-wing hate organization, forbade the use of the word Super Bowl in any report anytime during the year because of the wagering involved in it. They thought that was the devil involved in the destruction of mankind. They didn't care about the football part, but you couldn't mention football. They didn't care about the competition and the scalping of tickets. That was all acceptable. It's the fact that people wagered on. By the way, 23 billion plus was bet on that game.
23 billion.
23 billion. So there's just so you think that Jesus doesn't control the news. He does when he can.
Well,
the representative thereof.
Similar thing with Bonneville. I mean, Bonneville Broadcasting didn't take alcohol ads for many, many years, up until 5, 8, 10 years ago.
In Washington, where marijuana is legal, our radio station group there in Wenatchee would not take marijuana ads because, well, just because it's not that they were.
Well, I could see that because it's not legal on a federal level.
But we're only broadcasting to the Wenatchee Valley.
Right, but you're licensed by a federal entity.
They didn't say we couldn't do it. I look at your license. It doesn't say no marijuana habits.
Right, but I could see some lawyer saying to the owner of a radio station, "You hold a federal license. Marijuana is federally illegal. You could buy yourself a jackpot here. If somebody wanted to get you, which you know what happens, they always want to, when a license renewal comes up, there's always somebody that wants to challenge it. This might be a basis for you to challenge. I mean, I'm sure it wasn't for that reason, but I'm saying you could justify it by that, couldn't you?
What about Sean Kemp's shop? Can he advertise on KJR?
I have not heard a pot shop ad on a radio station here. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't listen to terrestrial radio that much anymore.
Well, radio is if there's ever been a collection of cowards and people who eschew creativity and original thought, it would have to be radio management, and consequently, they will broadcast hate at the most corrosive and sensitive and inventive level, but not marijuana, which would calm some of these
right,
shock
but
charts
at a federal
down.
level, it's illegal, and if you are federally licensed, which they are, I could definitely see somebody challenging your license on the basis.
I could make the argument that the federal license to a radio station is without worth. Nobody pays attention to them. Nobody There are no rules that say you have to operate your station in a certain manner to be able to maintain your license. You can do any kind of crap you want. You can't have contests without winners, but you can assert on the air corrosive lies of the most vicious nature every day on the hour without editing, without review, without rebuke, without consequence.
Well, yeah, maybe that's so. Let's stick with the Super Bowl because we could spend hours on radio. How being pissed off at radio.
Well, my
But
first note for the Super Bowl was the word defense. The defense played a great game for both teams.
yeah, final score definitely indicates that, doesn't it? Except except in the last few minutes of the game when Pittsburgh, listen to me, when Kansas City was driving down, they let Mahomes get 2 first downs where he ran up their gut. It seemed like nobody was covering Mahomes.
He escaped.
Or he was that good.
Well,
which is it?
It's both. It definitely is both because he got away from Bosa, who was maintaining the left side coverage. Got away from Bosa. And Bosa, they sacked him a couple of times, but never when it really counted. Yeah. It's an interesting thing then. One of the most striking differences between the teams is the 49ers on defense rush 4 guys. They never bring the extra man in a red dog or a blitz. But Kansas City does. And it was on the last drive of the 49ers in the overtime where they were in the red zone. And if they had 3rd and 7, something like that, and Kansas City sent the extra man, they blitzed one man who came untouched and forced Brock Purdy to throw earlier than he wanted to. The pass was incomplete.
Yeah.
And they had to kick a field goal. And that was the end of the game. Kansas City hadn't scored yet, but they gave them the ball back with 7 minutes on the clock.
Yeah.
And you know what that means.
It was ludicrous. It was like, wait a second. How in the world do you either got to eat some clock there, or
they ate half the quarter.
Yeah,
but they couldn't score the touchdown. They couldn't pay it off, and the reason they couldn't is because Kansas City brought one man in extra, and he rushed untouched and forced Purdy to throw the ball. And that's something the 49ers don't do and didn't do. And they never sent the extra man to go after Mahomes because they wanted the coverage to be complete in the backfield and the linebacker core. I understand that. But if you're not flexible enough to change your plan, you're going to lose the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And consider that Kelsey had, up until the first half, it was almost like they were saving him for the second half, because in the first half, what do you have, 1 catch for 8 yards or something?
1 catch for 1 yard.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't even a factor in the first half. But boy, in the second half, he came alive. It was almost like they stayed away from him, and the 49ers bought into it a little bit, bid on it a little bit. And then they started using Kelsey. But again, the shot where the final touchdown scored, you look and the 49ers left an entire corner open in the end zone. And that goes to what you were saying, that they didn't have enough people, they didn't put enough people in, they didn't flood the end zone, I guess is the football term for it. And they allowed enough space for somebody, the last guy on the team that you would expect to the winning touchdown pass to go to.
Hardman.
Who was a freaking jet. On top of insult, you got to add injury to it, because he was on the Jets roster at the beginning of the year, and he was out there all alone. I mean, Mahomes could have walked the ball to him, and just
Mahomes might have been able to run it in himself.
Yeah, but it's that. Let me take the shoot. Boom. Yeah, because again, on that drive, 2 times, Mahomes ran for first downs right up the gut.
I think they probably were defending for the run on that last play. But you can't give Mahomes 7 minutes.
No,
if you want to lose, giving the man 7 minutes to march down the field.
Yeah, he's going to figure out a way.
The clock's not a factor. You can just take your time and matriculate and make your way down the field and use the running game and just get a first down and then just get a first down. Pretty soon you're in the red zone and the game's yours for the taking. Unless you're the 49ers and can't protect Purdy when they send one extra man.
Well, I guess the thing that I wonder about is now it's in several papers, several organizations are reporting that the 49ers saying that they did not know the overtime rules for the Super Bowl. They were unaware of the overtime possession rules in the Super Bowl. And this is being reported by The Athletic and somebody. Again, it's inconceivable. Now, I don't know the overtime rules for the Super Bowl. I mean, I know them basically.
If you change the rules for the Super Bowl, if you're the league called the National Football League and you change the rules and you don't tell the teams, who's responsible for that?
Well, I think they probably did tell the teams whether the 49ers were a little too assy and thought that they weren't going to need to know about it because they'll have the game well in hand on then. Let's see. Defensive lineman Eric Armstead said after the game, I didn't know what was going on in terms of that. I didn't even know about the new playoff overtime rule. It was a surprise to me. I didn't know what was going on in terms of that. They put it on the scoreboard, and everybody was thinking, even if you score, they get a chance still, which is right. But, again, did they not run a scenario for that? Did they not? I mean, it seems to me like they would have had to, right? At some point in camp, you got to set 10 minutes apart and say, okay, if we go into overtime, this is what we're doing.
Well, I don't think knowing the rules would have changed anything. And the reason I say that is, what difference would it make if you kick or you receive? As it turned out, the team that kicked won the game. The team that received lost the game. They both had their opportunity. One scored a field goal, one scored a touchdown, and that's it. The game's over.
Right. I mean, the crux of it is that they let Mahomes run up the field. They let him pass the ball. They didn't stop him. And when he got a chance to pass the ball into the end zone, he did. And there was nobody around the guy that he passed it to. There was nobody within 20 feet of him. So if you do that, if you leave your man open, what's going to happen?
Good things will happen for Kansas City. That's a definite fact. And it was that right side that Mahomes ran to both times when he got his long gains in overtime.
Yeah, it just seemed like that it just seemed to me like it was really hard for the 49ers in that overtime period to stop them.
And we lost Greenlaw.
Defense was all game.
Linebacker Greenlaw, that was his side, and he got hurt.
Yeah.
Really hurt. They took him away in a cart. And I didn't hear a report after the game because I didn't want to watch the post-game activity. I don't need to see red tinsel flowing down on Travis Kelce and see how. By the way, he was not happy after the game because he didn't have a particularly good game, and it was challenging for him. In fact, he just about knocked Andy Reid off his pins during his sideline outburst.
Well, that was early in the game. That's what we had said is that early in the game, Kelce wasn't getting his number called, and that little. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because when I saw that little dust up there between he and Andy Reid, I said, "Uh-oh, the Kansas City Chiefs are coming apart at the seams."
Well, they were for that fact. They were
you got guys going up and bumping the coach.
Speaking of not using your tight end, what happened to George Kittle? He was unused too.
Yeah, again, another guy that we you expected to see um, a guy like that used more. Now, was it? Yeah, yeah, you'd have to explain that to me. Why was he not used more in that game, and why did you not um, use the weapons that you had available to you? I mean, I don't know. For me, Michael, the 49ers should have and could have won this game.
Sure, they could have.
They just
They could have won it in real time without the overtime if they hadn't have had their extra point blocked, which is unforgivable.
that was that was another
The final score would have
thing when
been
they
20.
went for the
Final score
2-point
would have,
conversion and blew it.
no, it got blocked.
Oh, got blocked. Yeah, that's right. And all of a sudden they're sitting around with the ball trying to figure things out. So I mean,
And
there
the
was
final
a
score,
number of ways.
final score would have been 20-19 in regular time, but they couldn't kick an extra point.
Yeah.
So if you're playing Super Bowl level and you can't make your extra points, even though you make 57-yard field goals, you lose the game.
Yeah, it just seemed like there was just so many little opportunities that they just couldn't seize on. Chris Jones owned the 49ers yesterday. I mean that basically that was that was it. I mean, I don't know his matchup there with McKivitz, which I love his name. Sounds like I'm going to plots. I'm going to have a McKivitz.
I wanted a spritz, but I got a McKivitz instead.
I wanted a spritz and a schmear. I got a McKivitz instead. It looked better.
But it was the 49ers who controlled the line of scrimmage, offense and defense, for 85 to 90% of the game. It wasn't until the last drive.
That that 10 or 15%
was the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean they both really mirrored each other, I thought. I mean, they both seemed to, like I said, I mean it looked like for the first half it was 49ers, but in the third quarter the prevailing winds changed. And by the time the fourth quarter rolled around, they were able to, I don't know, they were able to force overtime and win the game. At the half, which I found interesting, Mahomes and Purdy had exactly the same passing yards, 123 yards at the half. So they really were playing pretty even, except the 49ers got lucky. Well, they got lucky. They were in the right place at the right time. But
49ers had more turnovers. They recovered the fumbles. They had the interceptions. They had opportunities that they didn't capitalize on. In the third quarter, they went 5 times 3 and out, which, as I mentioned, you must capitalize on every possession. And 3 and out is what the Tennessee Titans do when they're having a good game.
Right.
It's not what a Super Bowl champ does. 3 and out tells me you haven't got it together. And so many times in those 3 and outs were the result of penalties that the 49ers brought on themselves. So they would have 2nd and 15 and be unable to convert.
Well, is there a reason that we didn't see George Kittle have a good catch in the game until the fourth quarter?
They had difficulty in protecting Purdy. They had difficulty, and he didn't have time to throw. He threw half his passes to a spot where he hoped the guy was going to be, because he had somebody in his face. Kansas City was molesting him. He got hit a lot.
Yeah.
But so did Mahomes. Mahomes got pancaked.
Listen, I'm not going to take anything away from Kansas City. They're a good team. I mean, it's the second year in a row they've won the Super Bowl. What is it? 3 out of the last 5 years they've won it. So,
Mhm.
I mean, it's hard to it's hard to say it was all the 49ers mistakes, but it just seemed to be a game that the 49ers could have and should have won. Now,
Fumble on the first
I'm
possession.
sure that everybody as a losing team says the same thing. Well, unless you get blown out, unless you get something where it's 35-3, going into the half. I mean, then what do you got to complain about? But anytime it's a close game, you always think to yourself, what if, right?
Well, one of the complaints that I saw today online was that Jesus.com spent $14 million telling people that Jesus would wash your feet, but he won't feed you. He won't give you any of that $14 million. He won't do anything to improve the neighborhood or mankind. He just buys television spots saying he could if he would. He might sometime in the future, but right now what he's really doing is taking $14 million and just blowing it on Super Bowl ads so that you know that Jesus gets us.
All right, but what's the worst blown money? The Jesus gets us people or the people who ran the ad for Robert F. Kennedy III, the Jr., whatever he is. That was a copy of the
John F. Kennedy's.
the John F. Kennedy 1960 ad. I mean, what was the bigger waste of money? $7 million those ads cost.
That was
Especially early
interesting.
on like that.
It was quite a jingle, by the way. Kennedy,
Yeah, it was a great
Kennedy's
song.
out of his mind. Kennedy
And
believes
his
in.
cousin's coming out of the woodwork this morning saying that it was that they're mad at RFK Jr. there for using the Kennedy jingle. I mean, what the hell? Kennedy hasn't used it since '63.
Who's got the rights to the Kennedy jingle? Anyone named Kennedy?
I don't know. I'm sure that question is going to come up in the not too distant future.
CBS said yes, but that $7 million must be in cash, Mr. Kennedy.
Well, it
You're
wasn't
not
Kennedy that
taking.
ran the ad, though.
Well, it was a PAC.
It was a Trump affiliated PAC.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was the guy who heads the PAC.
So it was a hit piece.
I forget his name. Yeah, is a Trump guy. Is a Trump supporter. So in essence, because they're trying to get Democrats to support Kennedy.
What's Kennedy's views on attacking NATO with Russian troops?
I don't think they really care. But so to me, that was the biggest waste of money. I mean, you look at the Jesus does us thing and you say, well, maybe I'll go to church on Sunday. Maybe I won't. I don't know. It doesn't make me believe more or less in Jesus or believe in religion or so what? I mean, I know Jesus gets us, but if he really got us, like you said, when those Christian guys jump up on stage and start hollering about religion, they would be
mostly the
buying
devil.
meals for people and helping people with affordable housing. And
they know far more about Lucifer than they do about Jesus.
And doing all these things, but that's not what they're about.
No, they're in sales. They're looking for a percentage. They're looking for money in the plate. They're looking for donations. It's all about dough.
So, does this game enhance the reputation of Brock Purdy?
And if there was a Jesus, why wouldn't he do his own voiceovers? I think he should.
Oh, I think he definitely should. I'd like to hear what he sounded like. What would what would happen if they got the voice of Jesus and it was a falsetto? Would they still believe?
It sounds like Pee Wee Herman. That can't be the Savior.
I think that'd be pretty funny. The voice of Jesus is a falsetto.
We're waiting for the Lord's voice to change. In time, it will.
Jesus is back, and he sounds like Frankie Valli.
Acceptable. I think he looks. I know your comparison is accurate, but he sounds more like Lou Christie to me.
That would if Jesus had that voice, these guys, their knickers would all be in a twist. They all wouldn't know what to do.
A lot of people don't know, but Jesus invented the knicker. Yes, he did.
Did he? I didn't. I thought Barker invented the knickers.
Well, he was a carpenter. He made them originally out of wood, which was not the best idea. But that got modified. No.
So, back to my question about Purdy. Is the average 49er fan feeling good about Purdy today, or are they upset about Purdy? And
I don't think you can blame Purdy. I think you have to blame the offensive line.
Yeah, I would agree, but people always blame the quarterback
because the game was so tight and so well managed by both teams that if the 49ers had scored a touchdown in their first overtime possession, there's no telling how long that game might have gone on, given the fact that Kansas City scored 2. So you'd have a score that was tied after the end of the first period. You would have to play the second period of overtime where the rules repeat. And I think the NFL won't tell anyone what the rules are for the second overtime.
Oh, no. We're keeping those in an envelope, in a jar, hermetically sealed on the porch of Funk and Wagnalls.
And although you can say it may have affected the outcome of the game, I don't see that. But for the NFL to change the rules and not tell the teams involved is going to haunt them for a long time.
Well, I mean, they told the teams involved. I mean, Kansas City didn't seem to have any trouble with the rule. I don't see,
Well, they scored a touchdown instead of a field goal. That always wins.
Right. I don't see Kansas City saying, we didn't know about the rules, but there are several 49ers this morning that are saying, well, we didn't know the rules. We hadn't run through that scenario. Now, either that's an indictment on the coach. I mean, I'm sure that when they got the NFL rule book, there's one of those coaches, usually the quality control guy, right? Isn't that the guy who's in charge of going through the rule book and saying, hey, Kyle, you need to drill these guys on this new overtime rule. We need to sit in the classroom. You'd have thought that maybe sometime this week, I know they were upset about the practice facility, but they would have gone somewhere, even to a parking lot in one of the casinos, and practiced the what do we do if we get into overtime? What do we take? Heads or tails? What plays do we design? Do we do anything different? Do we run more? Do we pass more? What do we do in overtime? You'd have thought that would at least taken up 5 minutes of. I mean, I would have rather seen them do that than answer questions about what was their favorite Taylor Swift song.
Well, I just if the NFL failed to make that clear to the teams, it was still easy to see that 7 points will be 3 points in overtime, no matter how you cut it, no matter whether you kick or receive. You're going to get both teams get the ball. So
right.
the idea that one team had the advantage by the flip of the coin is not true. One team didn't have the advantage by time of possession. Both teams were going to get a chance to score. And then if they both scored and the game remained tied, they were going to get an opportunity to win the game with the next score.
Well, yeah. I mean, the idea was no matter what the rules are, your defense has to stop Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs from marching down the field as they did.
And they had done that successfully, but their defense broke down on that last drive when when Mahomes had opportunity to run pass option. Well, the pass didn't happen, and the run was his. That was the option he took, and it was very successful.
And as we know, you could hold them back for the whole game as long as they had the one opportunity
and the time they had.
and
That the
time
most important
to
thing.
execute.
7 minutes is an eternity for Mahomes.
But they didn't even need all of the time. It
No,
wasn't like they got close. They marched down the field.
But
I
it
mean,
wasn't.
it was like I was sitting there looking at it going, I mean, they just Mahomes is just running.
And it wasn't a situation where they had to manage their timeouts or anything. They had plenty of time to execute any offense that they had.
I don't think they used the timeout in overtime.
No,
The
I don't think so.
49ers.
No.
So, yeah, so now you have to figure out, I guess, the 49. It's always hard for me to say the next day, well, what changes do they have to make? Because in essence, this was a game where you could truly say that the Kansas City Chiefs were just better than them yesterday.
It was a great experience to watch two defensive schemes battle each other. And for the most part, rushing just four guys with no blitz worked for the 49ers. But not when you had to stop him, not when you had to get to Mahomes. We were not just reluctant, we just never brought that extra man. And the fun thing about what the Kansas City Chiefs did, and I go back to this play over and over again, when the 49ers had to kick the field goal, they had to kick it because Kansas City brought that one extra guy that forced Purdy to throw before he wanted to, incomplete, take the field goal. And even when they kicked the field goal, the football gods are saying, now, 3 doesn't beat 7, no matter how you work this thing. You guys are primed to lose this game because he's got 7 minutes to do his response. And the 49ers were unable to stop him. Unable.
Well, and you could make a pretty good case that the game should have never gotten to overtime when they had the blocked
You're right.
point after.
Should have been a 1-point victory.
Should have been a 1-point victory. Should have never got there. So maybe that's why they didn't practice it, or maybe they did practice it and this guy was drinking. Who knows? Now they're saying that Greenlaw has torn his Achilles tendon.
Oh God!
So that's not going to be.
We need a new linebacker.
Yeah, that's not going to be. I mean, if you think about it, when they went through that in the fourth quarter, and then in overtime, they don't have Greenlaw, they don't have Brown, and they don't have what's the third guy? Lenoir.
We had 3 second stringers playing in the defense.
Yeah. And when you lose 3 guys like that, when you have 3 guys that you're not playing with,
you can make the case that added to Mahomes' ability to run.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody, even the most fundamental guy reading Football for Dummies on the sideline, is going to see if you have 3 starters out on defense like that. You're gonna rush that side. You're gonna try to beat them going through that side, right?
Yep.
Because you not only have a chance to force one mistake, but you have a chance really with 3 backup guys playing to force 3 mistakes.
And all you have to do is beat them by 1 step. 1 step will do it.
Yeah. But again, I always go by the Mike Tomlin philosophy. Next man up has got to be as good as the guy he's replacing.
Well, that's what I thought would be. That's what I thought would be with the Jesus thing. Don't they have a backup Jesus when Jesus?
Yeah, the Holy Ghost.
When the Romans grab him, don't they bring out the Jesus number 2?
No, they got the Holy Ghost. He's a bird. He comes and the Holy Ghost just flies over things and he craps on.
Doesn't sound like much of a defense. I think you can run on the Holy Ghost.
I don't know, man. He flies. He flies.
And have you seen this Holy Ghost? Have you had a conversation with him, seen him on
Oh
TV?
yeah, I have conversations. Yeah, especially in second, third, and fourth grade. Right up, matter of fact, right up until you make your first Holy Communion, you have conversations with the Holy Ghost all the time.
So it's
And then
communion, 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 Holy
you
Communion.
you really start to talk to him around confirmation. That's when you really have to, you know, form your bond with the Holy Ghost. So by the
That's
time you go
that's
through confirmation, you're Holy Ghosted. You're fully ghosted.
and do you confirm that you can hear what is not being said? You can just hear Jesus talking to you and giving you advice, or
Man,
could that be
I've
an
been hearing
angel?
voices since my first shot of orange sunshine. And
Orange
what the
something.
voices are or who they're coming from, I don't know. But
A lot of Christians won't
oh
admit
man.
that, Vinny.
What?
Many Christians will not admit that they hear the voices but don't know who the hell's talking.
Yeah, no, I hear the voices. Matter of fact, I hear them often when I'm driving somewhere. The voices you get on I-90 are much different than the voices you get on I-80.
And are they saying, let's open up this baby and see what she'll do?
Some of them say that. Some of them say there's a cop up ahead. Slow down. Come to think of it, maybe the voices are from Waze.
Oh, you think? Giving you an alternative route.
Could be. Could
You could
be.
stay at I-90, or you could take the next exit, and we'll give you further instructions upon your exit.
Go round the police. Yeah, come to think of it, yeah. And then, of course, if you go down south and you take the southern, you take I-10 or something like that, you wind up getting even different voices. By the way,
Yes.
the best commercial yesterday, I thought was the Christopher Walken BMW commercial.
Yeah, it's too bad they only ran it once that I saw.
They've run it a number of, nowadays. I mean, I saw it on YouTube 2 days before the Super Bowl. The only thing that they missed one thing on that commercial. And it really would have been a chance for them to showcase one of their uh, options in the car. All of these cars now have these luxury cars have voice activation.
Oh, Christopher Walken should have been the voice of BMW.
So the voice, and he should have gotten in the car and said, "Hey, BMW, turn on the radio," and the voice coming back to him should have been a Christopher Walken imitation, or maybe he should have asked it directions. How do I get, how do I get to 3rd and 58th? And the voice would have come back to him and said, 3rd and 58th.
The funny thing is, it's really hard to imitate Christopher Walken, as the people in the commercial found out, because they tried to sound like him, but mostly what they got was the cadence. You are
Well, I
so
think
cute.
that was the idea of it, wasn't it? Is that everybody thinks they can imitate him, but rarely
Nobody
people
can.
can.
Right.
Yeah, very rarely can somebody do. I'm trying to think of who I've seen do the best. I think Kevin Spacey does the best Carson and the best Christopher Walken I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, Kevin Spacey also did the best Bobby Darin I've ever seen. But yeah, he did Carson better than anybody I've ever seen. He could, if he hadn't gotten in trouble and there was going to be a movie about Carson, he'd be the guy.
I've never seen him do that.
Yeah. Matter of fact, he actually did. I met Kevin Spacey in New York one year at the auto show stuff. I was at the Nissan party, and I was coming up the stairs, and he was coming down the stairs. And I looked at him, and I said, "Hey, Kevin, how are you?" He said, "Oh, I'm good." I said, "Come on, give me a little Carson." And he did I forget exactly what he said. He said something like, "And now," something like that. You know what he did? He did a little bit of Art Fern.
Ah, Art
Like
Fern.
like 10 seconds of Art Fern. And I just cracked up. I thought it was great. Um, it's a shame
I
what
didn't know.
happened to him, I think.
I didn't know he did impersonations.
Oh, he's real. Yeah, he does them. He's really good too. He does impersonations better than most of the people that I've seen do them, and especially he does. What did I see him do? Was it on Letterman? He brought they were interviewing Robert De Niro, and they
Oh,
brought Spacey out
to do De Niro.
to do De Niro. Or was it Pacino? Now I can't remember. I think it was De Niro. Might have been Pacino, but I think it was De Niro. And they brought him out and they sat him next to De Niro, and he was imitating. He was imitating him, and De Niro's cracking up. Um, yeah, no, he's a very gifted. He's Frank Gorshin-esque.
Ah, okay.
For those of you who haven't been around a while, Frank Gorshin was a great impressionist from the 50s and the 60s.
He was really good at Burt Lancaster and
Yeah, he was. You probably know him if you watch Batman reruns. He's the Riddler.
yep.
But he had a great career doing impersonations. He would when he did his comedy, he would sit out on a stool, and he would just. I remember this about him. He'd sit on a stool and he'd just imitate different people talking to each other.
Do you remember what impressionists always did in the 50s before they did their impression?
They would turn around and then turn back around.
I was going, what the hell happens when you turn around? What are you doing when you turn around that you can't do when you're not turning around?
I always wondered about that too. Why do they turn around all of a sudden? Because and everyone who did impressions
Yes.
did it. They would
Yep.
turn around and they would go like this, and then they would turn back around in character, in the character of who they were imitating.
And boom, they'd be Cesar Romero.
Yeah, I never quite got
Incredible.
why that went the way it did either.
It's really funny now to if you can see Frank Gorshin or somebody from his generation doing impressions. You don't know who the people are he's doing. You have no
Yeah,
idea.
Paul did it too. He did
Who
it.
the hell
Rich
was that?
Did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of them. Anybody who did impersonations turned around.
And went to and Frank Gorshin never stood up straight in his life. He was in a crouch for everything he ever did. For
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Frank, good morning. How are you? I need breakfast. Well, don't crouch. You'll be okay. We're not going to make you crouch for your breakfast. No, I'm going to go into my little
Yeah, I saw
position.
him, I think, in an episode of The Untouchables. And
Anybody touch him?
he was somebody, I think, did. I think somebody killed him actually. And he was crouched. He was kind of crouched. Well, he always had, especially when he did the Riddler. I mean, he really crouched in the Riddler. I mean,
Oh yeah, he was ready to go off like a spring at any
yeah,
moment.
he gave the idea that he was ready to just boom attack. He was always crouched down in the Riddler when he played the Riddler. Yeah, he was a great Riddler too. He was, I don't know if he was the best character in Batman.
Well, there
I
was
mean,
the Penguin,
yeah, Burgess Meredith.
Burgess Meredith. Little
Yeah,
Popeye
Burgess Meredith
noises.
was good as the Penguin. It it was funny because they really did get some huge stars.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I read a book about Batman years ago, and it said that everybody in Hollywood wanted to be a villain on Batman.
Oh, of course.
That
Jack
it was,
Nicholson finally got his chance.
yeah, that there was.
I loved his line, "Wait till they get a load of me." Not when
Yeah,
they see me, not when they hear me. Wait till they get a load of me.
that was a big thing to be a villain on Batman. Because I mean, in 1966 and 67, everybody was tuned into that show.
Sure. Dum, 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 dum,
Everybody
dum, dum,
was
dum, dum,
watching. It
dum,
was
dum,
2
dum, dum.
nights. Was it Tuesday and Wednesday, or Wednesday and Thursday? I forget now.
Remember who did the theme? The
Neil
arranger?
Hefti.
Thank you. Good job, New York Vinnie. You win the cash prize. Take the rest of the day off with pay.
Didn't even miss a beat on that one, man.
No, that was.
Who did the theme for The Odd Couple as well.
And another great arranger from that time was Klaus Ogerman, but that's another show.
Yeah, that's we could get into that. So the final critique of the Super Bowl. Good game.
Good game. Lost opportunities. You can't give Mahomes 7 minutes to do anything. It doesn't matter what he's supposed to do. He can paint the men's room in 7 minutes, and he
Yeah.
can beat you in 7 minutes. It's too much time. Not that the 49ers gave him 7 minutes, but he had 7 minutes to play with, and he used it professionally to defeat the 49ers.
I think the Taylor Swift thing, I don't think they overplayed it. I mean, they got the number one pop star in the world sitting in the stadium. Yeah, they're going to take as much, I'm surprised they didn't give her a half hour of airtime.
Her advice to Travis Kelce will probably be, remember, the camera's always on you, Travis, when you're angry. You got to tone it down. Did your outburst help, or did it hurt? Did your outburst motivate your team, or did it distract your team?
Spoken like a true girlfriend. Were you surprised that they didn't stand up and endorse Biden after the game?
No, I didn't see them together.
Oh yeah, they were down making out on the field. Yeah, they definitely showed shots of that, man.
Well,
I didn't watch the post game, but I saw
after the loss, I had to end my football afternoon.
Yeah, I was. I went out. Like I said, I went out to a party that my friend Mike Brown put on at Aurora Borealis over here. Sam Atkins was there, former Seahawk, and yeah, as soon as they lost, it was like turn the TV off. I can't watch it.
And I'm sad for two reasons. One, I'm a 49er fan, but two, football season's over, and I'm not quite ready for basketball and baseball.
What a pitches and catches report? The 13th on Tuesday, right? Tomorrow?
Well, the Giants are going to try something different this year. They're going without pitchers and catchers. They're going to field 7 guys, and you have to provide your own pitching.
Well, at the rate the pitchers get hurt, why don't they just have them report later in the in spring training? Have them report March 15th. I mean, they know how to pitch, right? It's not like they forgot.
Yeah, that's not applicable to every single one of them. And you got to understand that these are the Giants. No one knows our pitching core. No one knows who our rotation is. No one, even a month into the season, will be familiar enough with the team to say, Bert Jiggerman. Yeah, I remember him from the something.
Well, got a lot of changes on the Mariners too, so I don't know. I'm not sure what the opening day roster is going to look like. They acquired a couple of guys that could be something, could not be something. They got rid of a couple of guys who were something,
but then stop being something.
And they'll probably go on to being bigger somethings on another team. They have This Is Really Something in center field in Rodriguez, and they signed a power hitting catcher. But again, and they have pitching. I mean, the Mariners actually could have had one of the best off seasons or one of the worst off seasons. They could have had the best because they dumped salary. They brought other guys in. They brought somebody in that could work the clubhouse because many of the rumors were that there were problems.
Yeah.
Problems with the clubhouse at the end that they kind of laid down in September.
So that's Mitch Haniger?
Yeah, so they brought Mitch Haniger back, and he's so while so many people are disappointed in what the Mariners have done, I'm not as disappointed. I got to wait and see attitude because they're a, what I call an if everything clicks team.
Well, so is every other team for that matter. But
Well, no, there's some teams that it ain't going to happen.
it ain't going to click.
Yeah, it's not going to click. I mean, so many things would have to click for them to, guys would have to have, every guy on the roster would have to have a career year.
Well, the Seattle thing worked for the Giants. Remember, they had traded for Mitch Haniger. They acquired him. He broke his arm and didn't play. And then they came to the conclusion there was still too much Seattle in this guy, so they sent him back.
Where's Mike Ford?
Don't know. He was with the Yankees last, wasn't he?
I thought he was with us last, but
Well, he was with the Giants twice.
he
The
was
Mariners
here at least twice.
Mariners twice, and I think Yankees once.
Yeah, I'd have to. I'm going to
And
look because I don't think we can really start the season
till we get this guy a job. Yeah, he can hit, and I know that sounds simplistic, but he hit everywhere he went.
Well, he, according to Google, he's with the Seattle Mariners.
Minor league, Triple A.
That's who. What? I don't know if he's on the major league. Let me look at the 40-man roster real quick. But if you want a field goal, Michael, he was born in 1992.
Well, he can hit. I give him my endorsement.
Yeah, it's funny. They have him listed as a Seattle Mariner on MLB.com. So it'll be well, let's see. It says here now on November 14th, the Seattle Mariners designated Mike Ford for assignment. On November 17th, Mike Ford elected free agency. So he still could be. I don't know if we got an invite or anything yet, but so it appears that he's a free agent. So maybe that's our thing, man. Maybe we have to find Mike Ford a job.
He's going to end up with the
we
Dodgers.
We got to make sure he doesn't have one first, but
you'd think that the Mariners would at least give him a AAA invitation for spring training.
I would think so too. Let's see. November 14th, designated Mike Ford. They select Zach DeLoach. And I think they traded DeLoach, didn't they?
They put DeLoach over by the couch, and it's hard to see the TV from there, but that's where he's sitting.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. But again, no Mariner team or Giant team will be complete if Mike Ford is not on the roster, will it?
Oh, there was one freak play in the Super Bowl that didn't go the 49ers' way. It was a terrible error of judgment, but that really didn't seem to have a fault in the players. And that's when the punt by Kansas City hit the 49er Darrell Luter Jr. on the foot. And Ray McLeod had to try and recover it and couldn't. And the Kansas City ended up with the ball.
Yeah.
That was a turnover that was apparently unavoidable. But if you're playing special teams and you get hit by the punt that you're covering, something tells me you were distracted for a moment or two, as Darrell Luter Jr. was. Hit him in the foot. Yeah, there was an ugly turnover.
He was looking at something. And I didn't see initially that the ball went off his
It looked like Ray botched it, but he didn't.
Yeah. It originally, and then once they showed the replay, then you saw it. But yeah, it looked like for 10 seconds or so, I was extremely not happy with Ray. And I said, "What the hell are you doing, man?" Because it looked like he bent down and touched the ball.
Right.
But he was bent down. He was trying to recover the ball because I guess he must have figured out what happened.
He saw it.
He saw it or he heard it. And I'm thinking at that point, you hear the ball bouncing off of somebody's leg.
And then you hear the cheers and you know that you don't have the ball.
And then he knew that, yeah. And that was, that was a critical point in the game, too. I mean, again, you could make the case that they don't turn. And you know, it's funny. You said it on Friday. The turnovers would be crucial in this game, and they were. I mean, the 49ers turned the ball over at bad time and scored off it.
Fumbles, interceptions, special team gaps like that. There was a lot of turnovers.
Yeah.
By the way, did you remember did you see the Clydesdale spot?
No, I did not see. Did I miss something?
Well, it was nice. These guys can't get beer into town, so they hitch up the Clydesdales to bring it in so that everybody can have some Budweiser. But the thing is, they can't see where they're going because they're in a snowstorm, and the yellow lab leads the horses into town. So it was more of a commercial for Yellow Labs than it was for Clydesdales.
Now, I saw a commercial for Bud Light, too. Did Bud Light run a commercial during the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I wondered why they didn't have the guy that caused all the controversy, the guy that said now he was a he, but now it's a she.
Well,
Dylan.
they had, I think they played to that, and the basis of the commercial, and you can look at it online, is that everyone transforms. Blink, they become somebody else. Blink, they become somebody else. So the idea was be who you want, become anything you want, make sure you drink a lot of Bud Light.
So do you think that will have Kid Rock out with a shotgun today, blowing away cans of Bud Light again?
I hope before he commits murder in the name of setting things right for Bud Light that he brings his child with him to the killing. It's fashionable to bring your family along with you.
That seems to be, boy, that's, and Michael's referencing the shooting yesterday at the Joel Osteen. Any relation to Claude Osteen? Chapel down in Houston.
And Joel Osteen is a creature of our planet that appears to be a human, but he is not.
I don't know. He looks he's a scary looking dude, man. He looks like
he's not human.
He's on something. That dude is on something.
And being a pastor, he runs completely on other people's money and other people's drugs.
I remember one of the first times I was in California, they used to have these things called Jesus Freaks. I'm sure you're familiar with Jesus Freaks.
Oh, we still got them.
And every time you saw a Jesus Freak, they looked like they were in a state of euphoria.
Bliss beyond the explanation.
Yeah, it was they were almost as blissful as the Hare Krishnas. Not quite. The Hares were the most blissful because, they were spending 5 hours a day chanting Hare Krishna. So they were at the top of the bliss ladder.
Right.
But right under that ladder were the Jesus Freaks. And that's what Osteen reminds me of. He reminds me of one of those 60s Jesus Freaks, except they were all hippies. And
he's a yuppie. He's a Texas yuppie.
Yeah, but the hippies had that, the Jesus Freaks had that thing about them. They were high on Jesus. As a matter of fact, I had one tell me that when I offered her a joint once. She said, "Oh no, I'm high on Jesus." And I said, "Okay." And I was in Santa Barbara, so I figured, what the heck? Sitting by the beach there across the street from Sambo's. And,
Can I interest you in a stack of pancakes? No. Jesus
No, thanks.
Jesus is bringing the fishes and the loaves.
I mean, they're only.
Did he cook the fish, or was that sushi? Did he cook the fish before he distributed it? Because he only had one fish.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they cooked the fish. Might have been sushi, but I'm thinking that they cooked the fish. That's just me.
And you got to wait for the bread to rise when you're making your loaf. That's where the phrase "He is risen" comes from.
Yeah, not if you. I don't think you have to.
The bread has to be baked. This is going to take all day because he's feeding the multitudes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. How long does it take to bake bread? I mean, I've never baked bread, so.
Better part of an hour. Plus, you got to knead the dough. See, all this is left out of the story.
Well, but didn't the Jewish people run like unleavened bread?
Yeah, true.
So is that the kind of bread that Jesus made? I wasn't there. I don't know. I tend to think that Jesus created Bella Chico's Italian bread in New York. If ever there was a bread created by God, that was the bread.
And the devil had no part in it.
No, well, I think the guy that ran the place was a little squirrely. I don't know
So
if he
the
was the devil, but boy, did they have delicious bread.
devil got a piece or a
Yeah,
slice.
they were right on a Junction Boulevard and Corona Avenue.
And are
And
they there now? Can we go by and check out what they've got
I
today?
don't know if they're still there. I think I actually drove by and they weren't. Doesn't mean they're not still. Well, you know what? That's
Somewhere.
the great thing about sitting here. You can always just punch it into the computer. Bella
We'll check the
Chico.
tutor. What's the name of the place?
Bella Chico's. Let's see. Bella Chico, quality frozen foods. Bella Chico's bread, New York. Yeah, Bella Chico on 9501 43rd Avenue. According to Yelp, they're closed.
I mean, closed like an out of business.
Like closed. Well, I'm punching up Yelp right now. Let's see. Yeah, there's no reviews, so I guess they're closed. But boy, they had the real deal when it came to bread, Italian bread. They made the best Italian bread. It was in every deli in Queens.
Well, on that delicious note, sounds like our Super Bowl coverage has come to an end.
Yes, our Super Bowl post game coverage. Well, it's another one in the books, and the one thing I think we can be sure of is that one of these teams will be back next year.
Barring injury, probably both of them will make it to the end of the season. Final teams in the Super Bowl. I don't feel like betting on right now.
Yeah, Purdy's not going away, and Mahomes is not going away. Mahomes looks like he's primed for to challenge Montana or Terry Bradshaw, the Steelers. I mean, they're in that mode. I wonder what Andy Reid's going to wind up doing. Some people before the Super Bowl were saying that he was thinking about calling it a career. I didn't get that impression.
I don't think that bodes well for Kansas City. I think you need Andy Reid.
Yeah,
he's a steadying factor.
Yeah, I think
and he's the play caller. Don't forget, he called the plays that won that game.
Yeah, he's I mean, and there's another guy who I don't think gets the credit for being as good a coach as he is. But he's done a nice job with Kansas City and did a nice job with Philadelphia before that.
Did he play ball? I know he played for BYU.
Yeah, I forget what he played, but yeah, he played for BYU. I think wasn't he in the Holmgren tree there?
coaching tree.
Yeah, wasn't he part of the home green coaching tree? And yeah. What is the guy that I haven't seen for a while? I got to check and see what's going on with him. You don't. I guess he's just been laying low because of all the coach stuff with the Seahawks. But I'd like to talk to him. I'd like to see what he's doing. All right, Mikey. I will catch you on Wednesday if the Lord's will and the creek don't rise.
It'll be a wacky Wednesday. I look forward to it, Van.
Yeah, we can talk about Donald Trump and his treasonous remarks,
trying to destroy NATO, and having Vladimir Putin help him.
What a sick. Yeah, I'm going to take the Joe Biden route. What a sick son of a bitch. All right, man. And peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine. Go
Take
Niners.
care of yourself, Michael.
See you.
All right. See you.